I graduated with my Bachelor's of Science in Ceramic Engineering. I was actually the last graduating class at Clemson to do that. Went to NC State for a year and worked on growing gallium nitride, doing semiconductor research, but what I really liked was optical materials, and at the time I got a NSF graduate fellowship program that was able to pay for my school, and so I transitioned back to Clemson to finish up my PhD. And when I did that, I loved technology. That's what I wanted to do. And I wanted to find a place where I could really just go work in a lab, but I wanted to work on things that were going to transition. What I liked about optical materials, I worked with fluorescent materials, and they, you make them and they glow, and you did it right, it worked. For me, doing science for the sake of science was fun, but to me the question is, will this make a difference? If I do this for 20 years, how will I know that I did well? I was always interested in the commercialization side of things. Once I transitioned to Techimer after getting my PhD, I did work for 5 years in the lab, but we instantly got involved with writing proposals, and part of that is the commercialization plan. And that's where we realized your failure, it's difficult to develop a new material. But we always say developing a material is like packing your bags to go on a trip through Europe. You've packed your bag, you got your passport, you got your plane ticket, but you actually haven't gone on a trip to Europe yet. You've just packed. And technically, having that solution is like you've packed your bags for commercialization, for entrepreneurship, but that's just the start. And so I got really interested in understanding, what do we have to do to transition the material? How do you build the business case? How do you find the customers to do that? And over time, what I realized was I can make a lot of really new materials, but the real challenge is figuring out how to make the new materials that solve a problem. I love working in the lab, but over time I just realized, my unique skill set probably created greater value for everyone if I was on the other side of it, doing the business, writing the case study. Is there a market for this? How big is that market? Because that really answers the question of, what does the supply chain need to look like, and what are our raw materials cost? And those constraints, those are the reasons most technologies end up failing in the market, or even never making it to market. So when I'm giving advice to young entrepreneurs or new entrepreneurs, I think the biggest thing is the idea of perseverance, of just, you got to get this done. There's going to be things that step out in front of you that you just did not see coming, and you have to be prepared to take them on. You got to be prepared to take on new roles. What you do today to make you successful will not be what you need to do tomorrow. And understanding that you need to bring in people, train them to fill what you were doing so that you can move on to that next role. And that's where you see a lot of people struggling. You see CEOs struggling where they have 5 people doing, they're doing a good job, but they can't get to 20 or they can't get to 100. You got to learn about banking, you got to learn about insurance, and you're gonna fail on all of those, right? You're gonna make mistakes. And it's just this idea of, that's why it's hard, that's why it takes lots of hours and work, is there's a lot to learn. And most entrepreneurs aren't bankrolled, right? You're not going to hire a CFO. So get good books, learn a lot, read a lot. And I think the other aspect is, and something that I didn't do well, is the idea of reaching out to other entrepreneurs.